We're just about 24 hours from the Falcons solidifying their 53-man roster heading into the 2025 NFL season. So I decided this would be the perfect time to give you my final 53-man roster projection for the Atlanta Falcons. And you know what? Hey, there's going to be some names on here that you might agree with and that you might not agree with, but that's why this is a projection, not a finalized roster. Thank God I don't work for the Falcons. Speaking of, we are 13 days away from Falcons football, so here's what I need you to do. Go down to the comment section down below. Spam Rise Up right now. I know the vibes right now might be a little bit low, but once that game happens on Sunday, the 7th, against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, we're going to forget all about those problems, and it's just about winning football games. So spam those rise ups right now. Cut down day is tomorrow, like I said, at 4 p.m. Eastern time. So like I said, at the time of this recording, we're just about 24 hours away, and that's when they have to have everything in to the NFL. And then, of course, once we get that news, we will give you a video covering everything. Let's start with the quarterbacks. According to Moose, 3 of them for the Falcons. Michael Penix Jr., QB1, obviously. Kirk Cousins and Easton Stick. Now, there's this trend going around in the NFL where teams are keeping 2 quarterbacks in order to give themselves another roster spot. I think they go with 3. And the reason is because if Kirk gets traded, I believe Stick will slide up to QB2. There is a possibility that Kirk gets traded. We don't know if that is going to be halfway through the season. We don't know if that's going to be a no trade at all. Either way, I think that's what it's going to look like, at least at this point, heading into week 1. Speaking of 3, let's go with the next 3, the running backs. And I know the trend in the NFL is to keep 4. However, I believe the Falcons are going to only go with 3. Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, and Nathan Carter. Why Nathan Carter, you ask? Well, he has clearly had, out of all the Falcons running backs that played in the preseason, the easiest and best performances out of all of them. It wasn't even close. And I know there's a lot of Falcons beat reporters that were out singing his praises not only this offseason, but in training camp, joint practices, and then, of course, in the game where highlighted by that one beautiful touchdown run against the Tennessee Titans where he just had that Le'Veon Bell-style patience to find his hole and then burst through the A-gap for a touchdown. It was really a thing of beauty. So I think he's absolutely earned that RB3 spot. That equals 6. 3 and 3 is 6. Let's go with the next 6, the wide receivers. Drake London, Darnell Mooney, Ray McLeod, Kaderil Hodge, Casey Washington, and Jamal Agnew. Now, I know. What about Chris Blair? Well, I'll talk about him here for a second. In fact, I was thinking about Chris Blair, and he might have been that wide receiver 6. However, I think they're going to give it to Agnew. And as great as Chris Blair played during the preseason, 12 receptions, 197 yards, and 2 touchdowns, I just don't know if this was his spot to gain right at the very end. I mean, I know he played great, and he still could end up getting that spot. But if I had to give my gut feeling, I'd have to give it to Jamal Agnew. The first 5 were pretty much locked up. So it was between Agnew and most likely Chris Blair for that wide receiver 6. So that's going to be something that we have to keep an eye on so far. And do you agree with my predictions so far? Granted, there's only been, 12 of them? But let me know in the comment section down below. Do you agree, yes, or do you disagree? And that would be no. Let's move on to the tight ends. I think the Falcons keep 3. Kyle Pitts, Charlie Warner, and Tegan Quitoriano. I think, the Falcons tight end room really wasn't going to be anything crazy. There wasn't going to be any major shakeups. Maybe if you're a huge Felipe Franks guy, you could talk me into him getting that tight end 3 spot, but I don't think that it's going to happen. I think those 3 are pretty much solidified right now for the Falcons tight end room. Here's where the shakeups happen because of the injuries. Let's talk about the Falcons offensive line. Jake Matthews, Matthew Bergeron, Ryan Newsel, Chris Lindstrom, and Elijah Wilkinson slides into that right tackle spot, with Joshua Gray, Javon Gwynn, Kyle Hinton, and Jack Nelson rounding out as the 9. Now, I'm sure you're wondering, where are Storm Norton and Kaleb McGary? Well, they're both on IR. Storm Norton will take one of those spots when he returns. Remember, he has a clear designation after about 6 to 8 weeks. So you can expect him to be back somewhere around week 5 or week 6, which means he'll end up sliding in, and the Falcons will release one of those other offensive linemen. Same with Kaleb McGary, although we don't know how much extended time he's going to miss. It's already been up in the air where, Raheem Morris said he's going to miss extended period of time. We don't know how much that means. Could that mean 10 weeks? Could that mean the entire regular season? Could that mean the entirety of the regular and postseason? We have no idea. But if and when Kaleb McGary comes back, he will also slide in on that 53-man roster spot, leaving another one open. So that means Jack Nelson gets to slide in and get a 53-man roster spot, the 7th-round pick out of the University of Wisconsin, who had a very rough preseason, let's just say that. Let me know how I did on my offensive projections, A, B, C, D, or F. There were 25 of them. If you have a disagreement, let me know in the comment section down below. I did my best, though, to kind of go over what I saw from preseason and what I already know to be the starters and just kind of give my takes based on the two of those. Before we move on to the defense, my friends, I do have to tell you about today's sponsor, and that, of course, is Prize Picks. Football season is back. Remember, college football starts this weekend. All of the major games are happening, and you can win real money this football season with Prize Picks. Which players are going to go off? Which ones aren't? Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. It's super simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If you get your picks right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. How does it specifically work? Like, what's it going to look like? Just like this. Here's a little lineup that I cooked up for you. I picked all 3 of these, and I picked them more or less, and then I sent it in. And remember, you can make multiple players, 2 to 6, up to your discretion. Send it in and win real money with Prize Picks. All you have to do is go to the App Store, click that download button, download the Prize Picks app, and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. I'll have all of that in the comments and description for you in today's video. Prize Picks, run your game. Let's talk defense a little bit, because now I feel like this is where all Falcons fans are going to be interested to see who makes the team and who does not make the team. And spoilers, we do have a slight mini update to one specific cornerback that we'll talk on when we get there. So let's start, of course, with the line, the hog mollies, and move our way back. Let's go D-line. Rook Orororo, Zach Harrison, David Onyemata, Brandon Dorless, Taquan Graham, and LaCale London I have sliding in to that 6th spot. Now, remember, the Falcons' defensive line was not super crazy. I feel like the one that I could put in here and say, he's definitely earned his spot is LaCale London. He had a really good preseason as well, 4 tackles with 2 TFLs. So the Falcons' defensive line, especially in the run-stopping game, is going to be really, really important to have some depth. And I feel like LaCale London has definitely earned his spot as a rotational man on the 53. Now we'll talk about the inside linebackers, because the inside linebackers, I only have 4 of them, and then we'll move on to the edges right after that. I've got Caden Ellis, Divine Diablo, JT Bertrand, and Josh Woods. Now, it should be noted that in this, I also have Troy Anderson. But Troy Anderson is currently on IR. So if and when he comes back, he'll get a designated roster spot as well. And I know a lot of Falcons fans are really up in the air on Troy Anderson right now. But once he comes off IR, he'll take one of those spots. Believe it or not, Raheem Morris is still really, really high on Troy Anderson. He's been singing his praises and trying to make sure that, he gives us constant updates about Troy's injury. So once Troy gets back cleared and healthy, he'll take a spot as well. How about the edges? Because that's where everybody's wondering. Okay, now we're talking about guys that get after the quarterback. Arnold Ebiketie, Jalen Walker, the Rook, James Pierce Jr., the Rook, Leonard Floyd, Braylon Trice, and Khalid Kareem. I feel like this Falcons edge room is as good as it's been in the last couple of years. I do believe that Braylon Trice at some point can make an absolute impact as a rotational edge. But what we're, of course, looking forward to is Jalen Walker and James Pierce Jr. That's going to be the dynamic duo going forward for Falcons fans for the next foreseeable few years and hopefully the Falcons' full-term future. You don't want to see any one of these guys feel like a draft bust, but I don't think that's going to be the case either way. I'm very much looking forward to these two and what they can do on the field. We'll move back to the corners now, where I said there's one mini update that we have, but let me go through who I believe is going to make the 53. A.J. Terrell, Mike Hughes, D. Alford, Natrone Brooks slides in. Clark Phillips also, and Billy Bowman. So we've got a couple of things to talk about here. The first one being Billy Bowman. All signs are indicating that he's going to end up starting over D. Alford at nickel corner. Was keeping up with a bunch of Falcons Twitter today, and it looks like Billy Bowman is getting the nod for starting nickel corner. Again, that isn't confirmed by any source, but at least from what I'm reading, all signs are indicating towards Billy Bowman being the starter. But Clark Phillips is another guy that I want to mention. A couple of days ago, I did a cut candidates video where I said Clark Phillips could end up being a cut candidate. And truthfully, I went back and forth and I looked at Clark Phillips and I said, as much as he has been injured and has not performed, I do think that he gives the edge over a guy like Mike Ford. Clark Phillips is probably just one of those players that's going to end up being that key rotational piece, considering last year, he had a major role with the Falcons in their cornerback room. I do think that, though, the 6 that I put up there is exactly what you're going to see. Obviously, Lamar Jackson got cut. Natrone Brooks had a great camp, so I think he slides into the 53-man roster projection, although he still really needs to learn how to tackle. He had some definite misses and big-time whiffs during the preseason. So I'll ask you this question. Does Clark Phillips make the 53-man roster? Yes or no? I'm trying to find the other player. I also know that Kobe Bryant has been a fan favorite for a lot of Falcons fans, but the truth is he missed significant time with that hamstring injury and then got absolutely dunked on during that last game against the Cowboys. So I don't think Kobe Bryant's going to make this team. I do think it would be Clark Phillips if it came down to it. But let me know in the comment section down below. The safety room, this should be easy. It's the best room on this defense, period, point blank. Jesse Bates, Xavier Watts, Jordan Fuller, and DeMarco Hellams. I'm going to be really interested to see how DeMarco Hellams performs this year, considering we missed him the entirety of last year. But the Falcons' safety room, make no mistake about it, is the best part of their defense, and it's not even close. All right, and we end the show with our last 3. The special teamers, Younghoe Koo at kicker, Liam McCullough at long snapper, and then Bradley Pinion at punter. Again, the Falcons special teamers, remember, it's only a 3-man, team. And I know there's a lot of fans out there that are like, Koo better show us something because last year was not good. And I completely agree with you. This is a very short leash for Younghoe Koo. Make no mistake about it. So grade my defensive and special teams predictions. You can just kind of combo those two together. A, B, C, D, or F. That gets us to 53. And if you liked them all, let me know in the comment section like I said, and spam those rise ups because we are 13 days away from Falcons football. That is going to do it for us on today's episode. We're going live for the very first time on Wednesday. Super excited about it. And as always, Falcons fans, be cool.